another episode of Strong Female Lead. I am one of your hosts, Tessa.
And I'm Tricia, and we are here to discuss the representation of women in media and discuss whether Hollywood got it right this time. If it's a strong female lead we like, what the movie says about femininity, masculinity, and everything in between, and what these characters are doing for us, and what we think of them.
Yes. And this week we're back with another movie. And this one, just have so many emotions about, like legit emotions about. This week we're talking about Mad Max Fury Road. This to me is a filmmaker's movie. There's not a lot of dialogue, so it's performance of the actors, it's the director, it's cinematography, it's everything that carries a movie outside of the actual script writing process. So it's a little different from us. We're usually like kind of dialogue heavy. What is this character saying? What do we think that they mean by that? You can't do that in Mad Max because literally, I mean, I want to say if you were to like only take the dialogue out of this movie, I think it was maybe 15 pages of actual words being said. I give it to him. I have to give.
We are here to witness. We need to witness chrome faces and war boys and Furiosa and lots of shit happening that I don't understand, but they are in a desert and they are killing each other and they are driving and chasing each other with a live band as part of it, but the guy is shooting out fire. I don't know. It was beautifully shot. The first time I saw this was like a year ago. Maybe maybe a year and a half ago. And I was maybe 2 years ago, I was very stoned. And I had no idea what was happening. And I was confused by the limited language and I couldn't pick up on, it was almost like stimulation overload. I was like, I couldn't watch it. And now watching it, I watched it this morning after some coffee, stone cold sober. And it was an entirely different experience. The shooting of it, the cinematography is incredible. And it almost seems like they sped the film up with certain movements and stuff, right? And I'd see a character moving. I'm like, how has he even moving that fast? And they definitely sped up the sequences and just the language. It was a good watch. It was a really good watch.
I remember seeing this in theaters and being like slightly underwhelmed because I had never seen any of the other Mad Maxes, but I had an idea of like, it's Waterworld, but like on sand, like I get it. I get it. I was like, they're just like trying to get resources, blah, blah, blah.
Is it Mel Gibson in the old ones? Is that him?
I think so. Because it takes place in Australia, which to me, them not just saying that was annoying, but I had to read that. Just tell me what desert we're in, because I'm very puzzled as to why there are only white people here.
Because it doesn't matter. It's It's post-apocalyptic. The country doesn't matter because it's no longer a country. But yes, if we would have known that.
For the terrain. And I'm I just find it very hard to believe that only white people survive the apocalypse and the people born to be in the sun.
Unless you look like Zoe Kravitz. She is the lonesome POC who, frankly, I love Zoe Kravitz.
Then also get everyone's accents together. Either we're doing accents or we're not.
No, these are post-apocalyptic accents.
They're just somewhere.
They're just a combo.
Zoe Kravitz so obviously American. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley is so obviously, and I mean, it shouldn't bother me, but it absolutely does.
And someone was British. One of the women was definitely British.
Rosie. Rosie Hunt, the one who's pregnant, she was British.
But there was another one who kept saying Shangla, like Skangla, or whatever.
Yeah, the other blonde one, the other like super blonde one. I don't know her name.
And they were like, let's just get some supermodels. We're just gonna start with supermodel wives. So the movie said some not strange, but definitely had a message and conflicting messages about femininity, which I thought was interesting, right? Because the lead character is Charlize Theron, Furiosa, and she, you know, eventually becomes the leader, it appears, and she's kicking ass the whole way through, and she's saving women who are being held as property. And so then that's saying something. And then also the women who are breastfeeding. I just, oh my God, the women in this place were just treated terribly.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, this movie, like, to me, like, loses some points for its lack of diversity and some of the representation of women, but it also gains some points for me for having you know, senior women represented, like, you know, who are out in the in the formerly the green space, still kicking ass, still living, still, like, you know, trying to find a new home. You know,
was one of them Gwyneth Paltrow's mom? One of them looked like Blythe Danner, and I was like, she wouldn't be here. I mean, she's, yeah.
But I also like that there was people of other diverse backgrounds represented. I mean, I would have preferred they not be represented in some of the ways that they were, but I understand this was supposed to be dystopian. And
is it supposed to reflect, like, Charlize not having a hand or an arm? Was that supposed to reflect something that occurred during this apocalyptic situation, or was this something she lived with? Like, I didn't know that she lived, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. They never give Charlize Theron any backstory that she isn't saying herself, which I thought was completely fine. I didn't care why she didn't have an arm. I just assumed rough life.
Yeah, I sort of figured it happened there for some reason, but who knows?
But yeah, and I was like, I mean, the, like, overarching crowd shots of the
God,
like, everyday people, as opposed to the, like, exalted, like, war boys, and then the mother's milk thing, I thought that was really creepy, but makes sense given the landscape of the story. But I also thought it was, like, interesting that, like, the war boys drink mother's milk, and I was like, maybe that's representative of the last time they were ever comforted, so they just keep drinking it.
And they're considered like, half-lives, right?
Yeah.
So like, they're kind of,
I mean, how else do you get men to join a war, is tell them that they'll live again? Of course.
Oh, is that because I thought they were, like, they're dying, they keep them, like, just weak enough and then give them blood? Okay, so why don't we just tell, will you just give the listeners, like, a brief synopsis about what the fuck this is about? Because it is craziness. It's comma crazy, or whatever they fucking, it just, okay.
No. Yes. So Mad Max Fury Road, Charlize Theron's character leads the 5 Despot wives on a daring escape where she forms an alliance with Mad Max, who is Tom Hardy, a loner and former captive. What?
He's a former cop too, which I love.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just was a cop, a road warrior.
Oh,
that's what.
I didn't know that's what that meant. I don't know. So they lead their escape in a fortified, massive armored truck called the War Rig, in which they tried to outrun the ruthless warlord and his henchmen in a deadly high-speed chase through the wasteland. So, not that that was in any way helpful, but that is the synopsis for the film.
But truly, it makes as much sense as what Tessa said. I mean, it's just post-apocalyptic. People are trying to escape. Groups are chasing each other, and they've got hardcore weapons and spikes, and they have blood bags that are humans, and they attach people. And the Immortan is basically dying, but he wears a stuff to, like, cover the boils on his skin. I don't know. That's it. That's what it was to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so much symbolism in watching the movie. I mean, I feel like any written description is not going to do it justice. And I also think that that's why I had such a hard time the first time I saw this, because I do remember seeing this in theaters and being like, what just happened to my face? Because so the whole time, the first time I watched it, I was like, but why is this happening? But also, why? Can someone just, like, pause real quick? Why is this happening?
Right. Why?
Where did Immortan Joe come from? Tell me about his children.
This is a sequel, right? It's got to be a sequel.
Episode 4 in the Mad Max
So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we don't know. So this is episode 4, and it was remade, but the other ones weren't remade. Is that true? So then they would just be the old ones, so we'd have to watch those.
Yeah, I think this is just another chapter. I think if you want to know why Mad Max or how he becomes to be who he is, then you can watch the other 3 like episodes in the Mad Max what was prior to the trilogy. Furiosa's story is individual and set apart, which I did not understand the first time I watched it. Yes.
I didn't know why any of it was happening.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Doesn't matter. But when I like looked at it as a standalone film on its own merits, I was like, this is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. Just phenomenal acting. I didn't realize that I was kind of a stan for Charlize Theron. Like I really do like the roles that she chooses. She in almost all of her action roles, I would say she's a strong female lead. I also saw like Atomic Blonde, and I loved it. It's another version of that movie Anna. If you've seen Anna, you've also seen Atomic Blonde, but both just great action movies starring women. Like, and I think that that's the correct way to phrase it and everything, and that they are just action movies that star women. A woman is doing all the things. I also like in this movie that Charlize Theron's character very. I don't think she ever asks for permission. I don't think she ever asks for instruction. And I think she gives orders, which I think are 3 things that you don't always see for female leads, but specifically in action movies, which I also loved. And I was like, especially if it was a woman with a disability.
Because she has that badass arm thing. Yeah. She loses it every once in a while, but then she always gets it back.
Yeah, but you'd think that the Immortan Joe sends her out because she is the best. She is the one who's going to collect, and you wouldn't automatically think that A would be a woman, and then B it would be a woman with a disability.
She is gonna collect,
bitch. Exactly. So yeah, okay. I don't want to monologue, but there's so much to talk about. What were your first thoughts about the movie? And the opening, when we first meet Furiosa and we first see the this dystopian Australia. And I guess we actually start with the imagery of with Max, and he has the first transformation.
I mean, I'm not an action movie person, so I'm not looking at it through the lens of knowing what action movies are supposed to be about or what's good or bad about them. I was excited that it was Tom Hardy. I think he plays those roles like no one else can. He's just so hardcore. There's just something about it where I'm just like, yeah. I really like him.
Joaquin Phoenix bring out an extra level of depth to the characters that you
so
think should be kind of surface. Yeah.
He just is so intense, and I'm like, where is that intensity coming from? Because I don't have the backstory, but he's a road warrior. He's just living on his own and trying to get away from these pasty white war boys who are trying to hurt him. And I just kind of thought, he's sort of this lonesome, better on his own, but haunted lead character. And I was kind of like, what was he doing though? Where was he living? Where was he before that? It didn't seem like he was in their little area, their region, until they took him. So then when they take him, I was like, okay, cool. What's gonna happen? And I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was confused, but I was also enamored with the cinematography, that I was just I think it's just gonna be a chase. And seeing Charlize, she was badass, and I knew she was up to something. And I felt a little weird about the wives, but that's pretty typical. The breeders, to have a group of women that you need to do that. I've seen that in movies before. I don't know. I don't know the symbolism. I just know that it was hardcore and it was fast and it was good. I did think it was the water. Actually, the water piece was interesting, like how he would just keep the water and that is how he controlled everyone. And then what a waste of water in the manner that he dumps it on them. I'm like, that is not conserving the water.
Exactly. Like, you have one hose that you can just like line up. Like, why are we doing it
like if you have enough to just like dump a huge waterfall on them that most of them can't even access.
Yeah.
I didn't understand.
Society. Like, this isn't like pre-society. Like, hoses have been around. Like, hoses are real.
They have them later.
Other places. Yeah. And I was like, so you couldn't just like, put a tap on that
because I think he didn't want them to have enough. Yeah. I think that was the whole point. But I was just like, Jesus, that is like so much water that you are dumping, and it's not doing anything except making everyone extremely wet.
Yeah, but he says something as he's pouring out the water, like don't get
addicted.
By the water. Don't get addicted. Yeah.
But we are addicted to water. We need water.
We need it. Absolutely. Yeah. So
seeing that as the currency was pretty interesting, and I don't think
resources, which is
resources
also true of today.
I was going to say not far from the truth. And if we were going to be in a post-apocalyptic society, I would think water would very much be a part of.
Oh yeah. As global warming becomes more real, fresh water is going to be quite the commodity.
So basically, we're not far. We're not far from this.
Not far off at all. Although I would choose Waterworld over over this world. I'd rather.
I never saw that.
Oh, it's terrible.
Okay.
It's 100% worth watching, but not great.
Oh my god.
They should definitely remake it. That would be very interesting for it to be remade. But back to Mad Max. I was so excited. Every time I see a dystopian movie, in my own head, I always think the critique, the lens through which we should be, that we could be viewing the movie is like the author, the writer, the director's views of human society. And you get to turn up kind of the flaws or imperfections in humanity when you turn down the natural world, when you dial that back. So we're no longer, I mean, the natural world is what it is, which is next to nothing. So we're really looking at how people interact with each other. So I like the imagery when you first see Max and you're like, that is a man. I can tell it's a man because it's the shape of a man. And he's gross and he eats that like disgusting. Like,
and he's mad.
And
every time I would Google Mad Max, I'd absolutely look up Mad Max. And I get all these restaurants. Mad Max.
Oh, Max.
And I got confused. I'm like, where is this movie? Why is he so mad? And why is it named after him and not Furiosa? Is my question.
I think it's because Furiosa, I think it's named after Mad Max because it's his story. He's the through line through the series. But I also think that the Fury Road is Furiosa. So this is supposed to be her story. And they are on the road most of them. Well, they are driving most of the movie.
No, they are always driving.
I was like, is there a road or are they just rolling over sand dunes?
Yeah, I didn't see any street signs.
Yeah,
I think, not a single one. I don't know how they knew where they were going.
Exactly. But Mad Max is mad because his family has been killed by by Joe.
Oh,
I don't understand that title. Immortan Joe. Okay.
Is it immortal? Is it a play on that? I don't know.
I've never seen the world Immortan. It sounds like Martian or alien to me.
He was gross.
Yeah, but so that's how we meet Max, and I think that's interesting that like life is happening to him. The world of the Citadel and of all of this is happening to him. When he's captured and he doesn't really have a lot of choices. Well, he doesn't have any choice. He's, taken and they cut his hair and they like string him up as someone's like blood boy or.
I know they have a blood boy because he's O.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it O positive, O negative? But he's like the most common universal. That's what I mean. Blood type, and so they're just gonna hook him up, and then just kind of like hook him up to the front of their Fury Road vehicle and just drive with them.
Yeah, and I think of that even that scene, I was like, okay, So in this world, in this society, like even humans are stripped of their, what we would consider our humanity, our emotions
Mm-hmm.
about a situation in order to be a resource.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, again, reflected, the world is being reflected in Tom Hardy's character. And so
So
I was
the
like, oh
people who have
no.
power, are
Mhm.
using other people who don't have power as resources to provide them babies, to
Mhm.
provide breast milk, to provide blood.
Right.
And then they just have, this group of warriors or war boys who are basically told that something great will happen for them as long as
Yeah.
they keep working for Joe. And so we just see Furiosa, who's like the number one in lead, like in charge, or number two in charge. She's supposed to be going to get some oil, and she takes a mad detour. And then they are like, oh shit, we got to follow her. And I thought that was really smart the way she did it, because she took off and she had war boys with her working for her. So then they were the first ones that might get hit if everyone else chased them. They didn't find out until later that they were actually running away with her by accident. And her
Right.
whole point was to just free these ladies who
Yeah.
really did. They needed to be
Yeah.
freed.
Well, that was another like a good theme about like following your leader. People in that society didn't really ask questions. They did have some mysterious religion because they kept talking about Valhalla and being like somehow reincarnated. And I was like, I
Valhalla,
don't understand
witness!
this.
Valhalla, spray my face with chrome, my teeth, and Valhalla. Yeah. It didn't make any sense. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, and I was like, again, that's why I was confused on where they were. That's a very Scandinavian belief set, so I thought that was odd. I don't understand. I hope in the other movies they explain this religion and why they think they're being reincarnated. But I thought that like the religion had
Yes.
something to do with why they were painted in that way, like their
I
minds might
die.
belong.
Yeah.
Yeah, their minds belong somewhere, and their body belongs to themselves, or their body belongs to themselves, or their body belongs to Joe, but their minds are their own. I didn't understand the body paint, but I
That I
loved.
live, I die, and I live again. Like it was a
Yeah,
reincarnation sort of thing. And they kept doing this. You can't see me, listeners, but this like
yeah.
X thing, like steeple. Church is the steeple. Do you remember? And then open it
Mhm.
up, and there's all the people. That's kind of what I was thinking. Here's the church, and here's the steeple. Did you ever do that when
Yeah.
you were younger? Open it up. There's all
Uh-huh.
the people. That's what I thought. They're doing hand
Just a very
games.
angry version of that. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Oh, I did love that one actor. I thought he was great. He's British, and unfortunately,
Uh,
the only thing I know about him is that he dated Jennifer Lawrence for a long time. But
oh,
the
really? I
main
didn't know that.
the war boy who like helped
Yeah,
save them at the
Nicholas
end.
Holt.
Yeah,
H-A-U-L-T. I think it's Holt. Hopefully,
he was
don't
good.
be
I'll
mad.
get that crazy blood. Yeah,
I thought he
I'll
was
die.
so heartbreaking. He was the character that made me cry. I was like, oh my god. I felt so bad for him. I'm like, I feel like that story is so reflective of like so many young men's story of just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, wanting to belong so badly that you are going along and not even of like of young men, but just of people just like wanting to belong so badly that you
Mm-hmm.
are giving the last full measure, only to have like only to find your like in story in your goddess for a minute, and then
He gave the
yeah.
full measure, but he did it in the beginning for one group and then
Hmm.
at the end for another group. So he
Yeah,
really just wanted to sacrifice himself, it appeared,
he
because he
wanted to be
probably thought he was
accepted
going
by
to go.
someone. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the group that accepted me, so I did think it was like poetic and beautiful that he would sacrifice himself for the group that actually accepted him instead of only like he tries so hard to be accepted by Immortan Joe. At one point, he's like, he looked at me, he looked right at me, he saw me, and
Mm-hmm.
then and then they kind of leave him to die, and he's like so shamed that he's like hiding in the back of their like war rig, and
And
then
he's
someone shows
chained.
him a kindness. Someone shows him a kindness, and tells him that he's worth something
Riley.
just by being himself. Riley.
Riley Kia.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, what a beautiful moment again of femininity coming in and fucking saving the day, saving someone.
You're
Femininity. I
right.
think the wives are so interesting, and I did not pay one iota of attention to them the first time I saw this. I was just like, oh, they're being saved. Oh, yeah, Charlize Theron's character is saving them. They're pretty much useless. They're there. This time I actually paid attention, and I was like,
Oh, a
she
couple of them do
is
some
a
super daring
co-conspirator.
moves.
Yeah, I was like, Charlize Theron is their co-conspirator, not their savior, which is so important for them to actually participate in the actions that lead to their own uh, freedom.
They do. They
They
start hyping up like about certain things, and Rosie's character, splendid. I thought she died, but I guess she didn't. Did she? But when
she does die, she just didn't go under the tires like Tom Hardy said. I was like,
okay, but
because you'd think that there'd be nothing left if she went under a war rig, like.
Yeah, but then while she was giving birth or they were cutting out the baby, like they appeared to have like a washcloth or something on her forehead. And I'm like, you wouldn't have to do that if she was dead, right? But she probably did die. But
yeah,
she was pretty fearless in one scene. And then Riley's character was good when she showed some kindness, and the war boy ended up, working for them. And then even Zoe's character, the all-knowing Toast, she was influential in the decision to go back to Citadel and fight them that way. Like she was the one kind of bringing up, oh, that does make sense, and this and that. And she was kind of repeating what Tom Hardy's character was saying, but it was good.
Mm-hmm. And that the heist was their plan. I mean, I'm going to call it a heist because, like, I think at some point it's in the movie it's referred to as a kidnapping. But I was like, no, they planned this. They had the like words on the in the vault that they were kept in. Oh, that's why I was calling it a heist, because they're in a vault.
Our children would not be warlords and who killed the world.
Exactly. And I was like, well, that is a collective fail. If the world is ended, men didn't do it by themselves.
So and they do keep saying we're not products like that, or we're not, we're not goods, we're not things.
Yeah, but I see them fighting. They are seen as in their lives in the Citadel as these like fragile, perfect beings, incapable of saving themselves. So when Immortan Joe learns that they've escaped, of course, like they couldn't have planned this themselves. They couldn't have swayed Charlize's character in order to help them escape and help them get to this green place or green space. And I just really loved that. I love that they weren't, victims to the plot of this movie, which I think in my first viewing, especially, I just assumed that they were. Like, they're not doing anything to move the plot forward. They're just, other women, right. A typical woman in an action film. So I appreciated in my second viewing actually paying closer attention to what they're actually saying, the fact that they fight for themselves and have an influence on other characters more than I originally thought. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was excited to watch this again because I was like, oh yeah, it's just gonna be like explosions and like cool car chases. And I remember the war machines, like the cool like VW Bug that's like covered in spikes. And I was like, that would have been a cool day on set to be able to drive something like that.
I know, the machines were awesome. Yeah.
And the guys on the like poles, I was like, that would have been a cool day on set to be like, I'm like pole vaulting from a car to a car, or even the guitar guy, even though like war rocker. I was like, interesting. I was like, okay, we went with the guitar. Okay.
We need a soundtrack. They need an active soundtrack, a live band. It's like the Titanic. Just playing and playing. Oh my God, it was wild. I thought about like Charlize Theron's character, and what was she like when she was ruling over them though? Like over the women. Was she kind to them when she was working for Joe? Like when did she turn? Did she always plan to? What was she like before this escape plan?
It seems like she was more biding her time, because she does have the lines about like how he killed or she was kidnapped. And then her mother died on like day 3. So I would assume she's just been biding her time and looking for her opportunity. And then it just happened to align with their interests.
Okay. So she kind of climbed her way to the top, but because she could then influence something potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just saying that because that would be my plan. Like,
Right.
Yeah, outside of being a wife, I didn't see women being valued in any way. I was surprised she didn't have any children, or like, I guess, how old was she? I mean, she seemed to be contemporaries with the wives, so I was surprised she didn't have any children or anything like that, as like a weight to hold her in the Citadel Society, or
She
like a
didn't need them.
husband, or
She just fucking did it on her own somehow,
yeah,
which is
which
kind
is
of wild.
odd. But that's odd, given every other woman had a very
I
specific
know.
role. So I was like, how do you get in as the leader of a war machine?
That's what I'm curious about. What did she do? She must have been responsible for some sort of devastation, because he would want someone who had that ability, I think.
Yeah,
But who
it
knows?
would be crazy if she somehow led the attack that killed Tom Hardy's family, and they just don't know it. That would be very interesting for movie 5.
Yeah,
Tell me what happens when they figure it out.
I know. And her and Mad Max, like, I liked their relationship. I also liked that they didn't become romantically involved just for
Yeah,
a storyline, because you just see that so often, and there really was no reason for that. It was more just a respect thing. And when
yeah,
he was trying to revive her, I was just like, awesome. That was a really
yeah,
good moment, because he knew how important she was, and that
yeah,
was fantastic. She was a peer to
yeah,
him, and
yeah.
that was nice to see.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate it when he like deferred to her because she was the leader, and he was coming onto her war rig.
He
And I was
tried
like,
not to, right? He tried to control it, but then when he
yeah,
saw that he had the kill switch, I
yeah,
think he
and the
was
loyalty of the women. I'm like, they're not. It's a package deal, and they're following her. So you can be against it, but only for so long. Uh, the
I will
leadership is
say,
there.
yeah, he had to follow them, because it was just a numbers game. But I am kind of curious, like, as a strong female lead, she obviously meets the criteria: top build, has her own agency, impacts the plot. But why wasn't she able to have a relationship? I'm happy that she didn't for the sake of the movie, but why couldn't she have kids? Why
Yeah,
there, why did she have to be not necessarily masculine, but without those types of connections in order to be the lead in
yeah.
this?
I think I think unfortunately that's just like typical of like the action star is that they're supposed to meet their life on the road, um, filled with turbulence.
Okay.
So it would have made sense for her to end up with Tom Hardy than to start with the Tom Hardy. Because like I'm just thinking of other action movies with men as the lead. They meet the girl who's going to like change their life on the very turbulent road. That is the movie that.
That makes sense. So then I guess, like, it's good that she didn't end up with Tom Hardy, because I don't think it's necessary. But then I was also like, she is allowed to have some emotion. I mean, I'm sure she felt emotions, but she wasn't showing it. I wonder what it would have looked like if one of the wives, who were ultra feminine, if one
Mhm.
of them were went into Charlize's role, like if she died and one of them took over. That would have been interesting as well, because they were very, very feminine, but also very strong.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, I guess the person I would see maybe taking that on would be Rosie Huntington if she hadn't died. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that one seemed to be very headstrong and like not looking back. This is what we're doing. I'm not raising my child in
Mm-hmm.
under these circumstances, and I will do anything. And she ended up giving the full measure also to save the rest of them. But yeah, ugh. I think like if we're talking about like how everyone looked, I thought it was so strange to have the ultra feminine, like traditional um, beauty standards be applied to the wives, including and Charlize, and then all of the men be uh, unfortunate
Pretty
looking.
terrible. Other than Tom Hardy,
Uh,
who I think is extremely attractive when you saw his
yeah,
face.
yeah. Oh yeah, Tom Hardy's a 10. Yeah,
Tom is a 10.
100%. I think I've seen almost all the movies he's done. Also, I love him. I love
He
him.
even looks
I
great with
love
a
him.
mask. I don't
Yeah,
care.
he like mask might be just his thing.
He
Like
loves
maybe written
masks.
into his contracts that if there's an option to have a mask, he's gonna take the option. Like don't put a mask in his purview and expect him not to not to immediately put that shit on. That's his
Tom
thing.
needs masks. I don't know, why is he trying to cover his beauty from us? Like, what is he
I think
doing?
he's like, they won't take me seriously if they see how beautiful I am, and that's accurate. Because in Rock and Rolla, and literally like every other movie where he's like just like being gorgeous, I'm like, oh, man, you are distracting.
And he has this like filthy vibe to him also, which I just like love. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I'm just like, you would eat a lizard. Like, you would just kill a lizard and eat it while it's trying to scramble out of your mouth. Like, I can see that, and then I kind of like it. I'm like, oh god.
I did like just like when that scene was happening, I was like, did they train a lizard to do this? And I was like, no, it's CGI. It's CGI.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did they just
it looked real.
train? It did. And I was like, is that even possible? Can you train lizards?
I doubt it.
So why is this the first time I'm hearing about it?
I think their learning capacity might be pretty limited. But he's just, yeah, he has a filthy vibe, sort of like Woody Harrelson has a filthy vibe to me. And frankly, Matthew McConaughey has a bit of a filthy vibe to me. But I would say Tom Hardy's filthy is filthy sexy.
Yeah, and I think
like he might have killed someone in his life. Like he just might have, like, I don't know what his past is about.
I think like for me it'd be more filthy crazy, like more than like not so much a McConaughey who's just like, imagine him being from like an underdeveloped part of Texas, has had a rough go of things, and that's how he
his,
like
he doesn't wash his feet.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like at every moment, if I could think, like I'm not in any way in control. And I don't know that you are either, because your mind might not all the way be there.
Because he's unpredictable. He comes across like unpredictable, and that he'd get into some shit and then he'd get out of it. But like Joaquin Phoenix has that unpredictable side to him, but it doesn't feel filthy. And I don't know where I don't know where that comes into it for me, but Tom Hardy embodies it in the best kind of way.
He does. He's great. Oh,
I'm just like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do, Tom? What are you gonna do with me? What are you gonna do with her? What are you gonna do with them? What are you gonna do? I don't know.
I don't.
We could end up in jail. We could end up like in a beautiful mansion at a crazy party. We could end up dead. I don't know. What are we gonna do today? Oh God, yeah, it was good. I mean, it was better than I expected. I enjoyed watching it more than I thought I would. In general, what do you think? What are the filmmakers trying to tell us about the world and the place of women in the world and femininity versus masculinity? Do you think that's do you think those are important elements of this world, if it's something that they're even touching on, like in terms of symbolism?
I feel like in this world, feminism, feminine traits do not have a place in the apocalyptic society that is the Citadel. They have to go outside of the Citadel to find women, and also hope, or an option to maybe not choose the life that they've been given from the Citadel, which is literally the life that they are given from the Citadel. And I also think that the theme of hope is interesting. Who has it, who maybe shouldn't have it. Yeah, there's a lot there. I think that the green space is femininity, and that they're trying to find it, they're trying to recapture it. But then I think
women are more in power.
Yeah, but I think it's also interesting that it's not there. and that it's
Right.
been transformed, which it is in every woman. They're not
Mhm.
only feminine, and I think that that is what empowers them through the plot and heading back to the Citadel, is that they're not the women who they were when they left. And I think that looks differently for all of the women. But yeah, I do think that that is a important, powerful theme. This movie is deep, and I did not get it the first time, and I'm like appalled at myself, my younger self, my 20-something-year-old self,
You weren't ready
was
for
not
it.
get
You
it.
know what I think
Uh,
is actually interesting is, because I don't want to look at it as if femininity is a weakness and that they got through this because they were rid of their femininity. It's interesting because like the women are being held captive to bear children, to provide milk, which are the necessities for this group to survive. So those are innately feminine things, like giving birth or being able to give birth, because you need certain organs to do so. So whether it's feminine or not, it's biologically female. And then also breast milk, and both of those the society would suffer or just crumble if they didn't have them. So the women actually provide the nutrients, whether it be emotional or actual nutrients. They provide, more members
mhm.
to live in the society, but that they don't just want to be used for that. So it's like their feminine powers were being used to keep the society going. And they were like, but that's not what our use is for. We have more to us. So it
Mhm.
was just kind of fascinating.
No, I agree. I think like the all of the women kind of embrace their femininity, but then they also embrace more masculine traits, which I think for this movie, I think that that is what empowers them to be able to uh, overcome their circumstances. Whereas the men we see not doing that, following their leader, not growing, not questioning, and
Mm.
not embracing femininity for the value that it has, not just the utility that it has.
It was
Uh,
utility. That's
yeah,
exactly it. But I do think
yeah.
they brought I think their femininity helped them in the sense that, um, especially with Riley, like
Mhm.
being able to just show
Yeah,
compassion, which
yeah.
it doesn't mean men can't do that, but the manner in which she was doing it
Mhm.
felt very feminine. And he, frankly, was the reason at the very end they were able to get by.
In the
Women
context of
save
men.
lives.
Yes,
It
agreed.
was, it was good. And there was a little bit, there wasn't a lot of diversity or any diversity in
Mhm.
terms of race or the color of anyone's skin, but there was diversity by way of disability, even just a little bit. So there was some intersectionality, and we did have a woman kicking ass who also was missing a limb, which was completely and totally badass. So, what would you rate this, Tessa?
I'm gonna give this 5. I don't think I've
Woo!
enjoyed. Yeah, I'm gonna give this 5 out of 5. I feel like this is
What?
must watch.
Over
It was,
I May Destroy You? You
yes,
won't give that thought? What?
over I May Destroy You. I think that this is for its genre. Like I May Destroy You is a drama. It's supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to take you on that journey and it does it very well. This action movies don't do this for women, and to do it with so little words.
Yeah, she was not very verbal.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like I think the only other movies that I've given like a 5 to is probably like 9 to 5,
Oh
and
my
maybe
God.
like one or two others. But if you never saw 9 to 5, you'd be fine because it's a movie in a genre or in this area of film doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's shining a light on exactly what it's supposed to do. It's doing more.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it should be watched. And I was like, I don't think I've ever cried in an action movie, but this movie made me cry. I was so like invested in for a movie I've seen before. Like I knew what was going to happen, but I was like reinvested into this plot.
I
Um,
witnessed
these
you
characters.
cry. I
You did.
witnessed your tears. No, I didn't.
Oh, oh.
I witnessed.
From the, oh yeah, that was another super powerful thing that I just absolutely loved. In a civilization, or the broken remnants of a civilization where you cannot write down all history as oral, asking someone to witness you, I was like, what a powerful thing that this
Yeah.
character is asking another character to do for him, just to remember me, remember my sacrifice. Again, like the whole
Right.
time he's just asking to be validated and
Witness!
seen in the world. Exactly. And I was like, how beautiful is that? Just that. And I was like, oh, this movie did the most. I highly recommend that people watch this.
It did
And
things.
yeah, it did things, and it didn't have to. And I think that's another reason I give it so much credit, is because it didn't have to. It was fine as Mad Max. It would have made the same amount of money if this
Yeah,
movie was,
that's
starring only Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. If their roles had been reversed and Tom Hardy actually was the savior for the wives, it would have made the same amount of money. It would have done the same numbers because it had for 3 other movies. So they didn't have to do this, and I think it was thought out. It was, conceived as a woman being the lead of this plot, and of this story, and I just very much appreciate it.
Thank
so yeah,
you,
5
Mad
out of 5,
Max.
all the stars. Thanks, Mad Max.
Thank you, Mad Max.
Yeah. What did you think? I'm just monologuing. I have so much to say about this.
No, go for it. I mean, I liked it, but like I didn't love it just because I don't like action movies typically. But I would give this a 3.25 out of 5, which might sound low, but my typical ratings for action movies, I think, are much lower. Between 3 to 4.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I did. The symbolism, everything. It was, yeah, all the things. I thought it was really good. You're not
Cool.
very happy with that.
No. No, I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I always wonder, like, what is the gap? Like, if I was to write an action movie, how could I sell it to someone like you who doesn't particularly like this type of movie? Because, like, putting a woman in the lead, making the story actually about her would be enough to sell me on it. I mean, actually, just making the movie would be enough to sell me on it, because
the cinematography
really like
was incredible. The soundtrack, the all of it was awesome. I actually would benefit from a little backstory, but I understand that it's like part of a series, so it's not necessarily going to have that. So it may be a different rating if I knew some of the background, if I knew where Furiosa came from. It's not.
It's not a bad rating. No, I'm not saying this to be like, you should give it a better score. I loved it. I was just like, as someone who like wants to be a screenwriter, would want to know, like, if not, like, what would bring more women to see action movies who maybe don't typically, seek them out or watch them outside of like viewing with a partner.
Okay, you know what would have been interesting if Tom Hardy's character was a woman? That would have added another level of interest for me, to have 2 women but coming from different parts of this world. That would have been fascinating to me.
Interesting.
That might be something that, if his character was a woman, and not just a woman, a female Tom Hardy or a female Max, but a female character, that would be interesting. I don't think I've seen something like that before.
Yeah, I think it would be, I agree. I think it would be really interesting to see a woman go through the type of treatment that Tom's character did, especially like with, kind of being treated a little bit like trash. And actually to kind of have that level of grounding to the world, and that, like, not every woman is a wife, and not every woman is Furiosa.
Exactly.
Some women are Tom. Trying to think of another team.
Some women eat lizards.
Yeah, some women eat lizards, and that's okay.
Oh my God, thank you. I mean, I love Tom Hardy and I don't want to replace him, but it would be interesting, because then it would be looking at, I don't know, it would just, I don't even know what that would look like, and it might be difficult to write, but that would be funny.
No, I think if you haven't already watched it, the remake of the Terminators, you would like.
I know you keep saying that. I gotta.
Yeah.
I know.
No, but I always find that I do really find that interesting, like, because I would want to write roles that women would want to see, So I find like all these movies like very, very interesting of like what do people like, and your comments too. Like if you don't like something that we're saying, you don't agree, and you think that
Hit us
we're
up.
being too harsh on someone, yeah, hit us up. Tell us what you think. We are interested to know, because yeah, there's so many layers to movies like this, and there's so much room in, especially in action, to tweak the genre to something that works for more women. Like women are 52% of the viewing audience of film, so we are more than the majority of the viewers of film.
And
So
we're
something
interested
needs to
in
be changed.
what
Yeah,
movies you like. We've
yeah,
seen some recommendations. We'll take a look at them, and we'll most likely watch them. So
yeah.
keep reaching out to us on social media. We're on Instagram at Strong Female Pod.
Mm-hmm. And if you see anything interesting on Twitter, you can tweet at us. We're SFL_Chicago on Twitter.
And that's all she wrote. Rate, review, subscribe, reach out to us. We love you. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back at you next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.